Hey, what's going on, everyone? It is David Palmer, Leo King, and we are here live for spiritual dance music for December 25th of 2019 and through the 26th, the solar eclipse in Capricorn. If you never watched the show before, this is where I combine the astrology, channel it to you, do the tarot, and then throw it all into a live dance music mix, always on the new and full moon cycle here on highvibe.tv. Now, this is a major time, of course, because it is a solar eclipse, and this solar eclipse is probably the most intense we've ever seen in our lives. And I'm not kidding about that, because the eclipse cycle we're in is literally going to happen from December 25th if you're on the West Coast, or even parts of the Midwest, right before we go into the 26th, that night, Christmas night, and then bang, 26th, wherever you're at, anywhere else in the world. But it's so extreme because, one, we've got this amazing Saturn and Pluto conjunction happening, and right before they meet on January 12th, boom, two eclipses. So this eclipse that we're talking about today is extreme. And I want to remind people that this show has been going on for 10 years. And this show started in a lot of different ways. But the main thing that it has come to over all the years was to channel this message of the horoscope, look at it through not only the astrology and the tarot, but then how it all we can release and also set the intention through the music. So make sure that you check out highvibe.tv and make sure that you can also always watch spiritual dance music for free on our apps for free. It's a free show. And you can, of course, watch it on YouTube and stuff, but YouTube has copyright stuff on some of the music, and then it takes sometimes me a day or two just to get it back up, and sometimes they can never even get it back up. So if you ever want to rewatch this show, you can always watch it on highvibe.tv or on any of the apps for free as well. Also, I'll be doing this live for New Year's Eve as well. You're not going to want to miss that. We're doing an awesome event on New Year's Eve. Check it out. It is going to be on December 31st, and we're going to be doing a whole event with tons of speakers. I'm going to be doing my 3-hour lecture about this new era of providence and why these eclipses are destined to happen right before the new decade and all the events that are going to be happening through the next decade. So let's take the solar eclipse. It's on top of Jupiter. It's in Capricorn with the sun, moon, and Jupiter. All three really don't like Capricorn much. Sun doesn't really like Capricorn much. Moon definitely doesn't in detriment, and Jupiter doesn't in fall. And we got the trine to Uranus and Taurus. So this is all about like knowing your value, knowing your worth, and not being afraid to step forward into a better life. Or just kind of lock yourself away in kind of prison, because Capricorn deals with iron bars. It's like no coincidence as I'm sitting here that, I'm in this trust system, right? These are like iron bars. And what's interesting is like, this is where we have to not be afraid to know our value, to know our worth, and to go into energies, because Jupiter is asking for you to expand. And especially Capricorn, whether it's business, whether it's to take yourself to a level that you've never been before. And with the South Node there becomes all these beliefs, and everybody starts to get opinionated, and it can get a little bit crazy inside of yourself because you're dealing with old systems of beliefs and having to look at things from a different perspective. And I think that this is really intense because this can create a lot of drama with Jupiter, right? Jupiter is the biggest planet, and the sun is even bigger than that. It's a star. And you have a solar eclipse on top of it. So it's just like, wham! And when you got Uranus and trine, it's like anything is going in all crazy directions. And I think that this is a time to ground and see the vision and move towards it. And with Uranus and Taurus, we're all getting lessons when it comes to reinventing and knowing our worth and having to move forward with it. And it's a deep reflection when it comes to our worth and our self-value on whether or not how we're living our lives. When we get to places when it comes to our value and the better life that we can have, are we truly living in that life? What are those things that Jupiter and Uranus right now are going to try and show us? And it's hard because Chiron is in square to this solar eclipse in Aries. So this deals with, you want everything to look the way that you want it to look. But it's like, Chiron is like, nope, not going to look that way. And so this can create freak out in life where it's like, well, am I on the right direction? Is everything going to be okay? And you're going to have to learn how to ground. In Capricorn, know what the objective is in your life towards where you want to go in your life and own that position and stay in that position and go there and not be afraid. Venus is in Aquarius, making a quincunx over to the North Node. These are weird new value systems and projects and relationships that are in a weird angle to the North Node in Cancer, that are telling us to find this new comfort in places we've never been before. And that's what this whole eclipse is about, is not being afraid to step out of your comfort zone to get to where you've always wanted to go into your life. But if you've got a lot of emotion and there's a lot of fear, that's difficult. And Jupiter's difficult in Capricorn because the only way you do advance is if you do take the trail. And you don't turn around and turn back like in Cancer. Cancer is where, there's a refrigerator and there's a kitchen and there's a comfy sofa. But in Capricorn, it's like you have to have a backpack and you have to carry a Cliff Bar on you and you got to find water on the trail and keep going. And even if you get a bump or a bruise, you can carry a first aid kit, but there is no ER doctor right there. There is no ambulance going to be going up, 14, 16,000 feet, 20,000 feet up into the Himalayas for you. So that's risk. That's Capricorn. But that's where the payment is. That's where Jupiter is. That's where the South Node is. And it's also letting go of those fears. But they're belief fears. They're subconscious. This K2 South Node energy with Jupiter is, what are all these visions? What are all these perceptions that you have that are pulling you into a place to want to hold you back instead of move you forward? And Mars in Scorpio, it takes courage of intuitive knowing to take it and to face fear. And the scary part of South Node in Jupiter is creating stories, like creating stories out of nowhere that, you know, can sometimes be just really more of just because the block is there. Like, oh, I can't, you know, deal with this situation, and create a story that really is more of just, those are the stories that you have to let go of to actually go there. I used to create stories all the time when I was a kid. You know, when it came to going to practice in water polo, I had to be there at 5 a.m. And, you know, it would just be like, oh, had a lot of homework and because I was afraid of Hell Week. I'll never forget Hell Week as a freshman. Because not only as a freshman, you don't even know what school's like yet. And you're being asked, if you're on the team, to go practice with these 17, 18-year-old guys and swim your butt off until 7 a.m. in the summer for the 2 weeks before school. And you're like, never even know what the school's like yet? That's scary as fuck. And I remember doing everything I could to try and avoid Hell Week. But when I went, I enjoyed my time. It's weird. And I want to use one more analogy. When I went to boot camp, when I signed the paper and I was ready to go, it was like, yeah. But when it was 2 days before, holy fuck, was I scared. And then the worst is when you get off the bus and you arrive at boot camp and they are screaming at you. Actually, even better than that, when you get off the plane in Chicago for Navy boot camp, there's an area at O'Hare Airport that literally is for the military, and you sit down in front of all the people walking through the airport getting their normal food and stuff, and they are yelling at you in your normal clothes. Then you get yelled at into this bus, then you get your head shaved, and you have no idea what's there. But you know what's so weird? 2-3 days into that, I had more fun in boot camp than I had ever had in my life personally. I became an adult, I stepped up, and you know, I'm speaking to you right now as my Jupiter return is happening. It literally completes at 7 a.m. on Christmas morning, and this is Christmas Eve. So I want you to think about that with you in your life right now. Because as a teacher, as an astrologer, the only thing that I can do sometimes as an astrologer, and any good astrologer, is use from our own textbook of our own life. And since this is a solar eclipse on Jupiter, this is a solar eclipse on Jupiter exactly where I was born with Jupiter. These are the kind of experiences I've had in my life that have benefited me. The only way that I even got here was I literally went homeless with a laptop and did videos. If you watch my first videos, they're in nature because I didn't want it to look like, I don't know, I was in some weird place. And that's all I had. I didn't even have a microphone. And I just did my heart's duty. And it's turned into all this 8 years later. And there's been amazing things that happened right away from that too. But Jupiter in Capricorn pays when you're not afraid to take the step, the risk, and the leap. And to not have these subconscious belief stuff with South Node there that are holding you from it. So we're going to bring Jax Atlantis up to pull some cards with me. We got Mr. Jax in the house somewhere. I mean, I'm in like massive light, and then it's like I feel like I'm in Star Wars on a ship right now.
How's it going, man?
What's up, dog? How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm feeling pumped today. How about you? How are you vibing with this energy?
I feel weird.
Yeah.
I mean, the Christmas Eve energy just doesn't feel like normal. I actually missed my whole family Christmas Eve thing. So
yeah.
And then there's Christmas, right? So it's like that's different. Doesn't feel normal. I don't know. What about you?
I missed mine too, actually. Yeah, mine was on the 21st. They all live in Oregon, and I just wasn't able to make it there in time. But it's weird. It's like I'm not feeling any Christmas spirit because instead I'm feeling something that feels so much better. Like There's just this Ten of Cups energy in the air right now. Like this event that we're putting on right now, this like everything that we're starting, it just feels like it's recognition of the power of our individual sovereignty, as well as working in a team with others and really meshing together.
Come closer to me. Yeah. Don't be afraid of me, Jax. We need to be in the light together. But that actually, I like that you bring that up. And then it was funny. I threw in, we all have to be in the light together right now because there's not a lot of light.
Yeah.
Because technically, when you look at the sun right now, all the planets are behind the sun in the day. So at nighttime, you won't see these planets. That's what's kind of creepy. And that's what occult means, is hidden aspect. And that's the kind of crazy stuff going on right now. You can feel it. It's like you can't see it, but it's behind everything, if that makes sense.
Well, it makes perfect sense, yeah. And when we can't see one thing, we can see so many other things. Like,
yeah, like tell me, give me a good example that you've been feeling that way.
Like for me, I mean, it's like any time that the sun is, you know, like has less of an energy in the collective, it always feels like our psychic gifts are so much stronger and so much brighter.
Right.
You know, seeing into other dimensions, seeing into other places, seeing into our pasts. Like it's almost like when one thing goes, another thing always rises. And so no matter,
I like that.
Yeah, no matter how malefic it can get at some points, like it's in order to help us.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I just feel that because we're in Capricorn and because it's so intense, Saturn, Pluto, South Node, Jupiter, solar eclipse, it deals with time. And time is a weird space right now, but it really also deals with toughness. Like there's a very hard aspect about Capricorn. It's about being tough. And I think that, you know, with Jupiter there and an eclipse on Jupiter, it's like expanding where you can feel that we're going to have a little bit more toughness, or sometimes people call it thick skin, and which is ironic because Capricorn rules the skin. This is one of the body parts because the whole body and the structure of the body. So it really deals with, you know, what you let penetrate you and what you know in your heart your path is, and to not be afraid to take those leaps there. Because this is kind of one of those hard moments in life with two eclipses. And I've talked about this on my Destiny Call video or any of my old deeper astrologies and even through Rising Through the Darkness years ago, that I wish the eclipses were happening almost after Saturn Pluto. But there's something to say that these eclipses are really bringing us to like the hardest lessons of our life, and they're all internal with South Node, of beliefs, of Saturn, of our responsibilities, of our authority, and with Pluto, our ability to not freak ourselves out and to transform. And they're happening before Saturn Pluto meet, which hasn't met with Jupiter and all this since 800 years ago. So that's a lot.
Yeah, and I would say remembering our toughness as well. You know, remembering our toughness, because if you're stepping into your love and stepping into your alignment, there'll be no question whether or not you're tough.
True that. So we're going to pull some cards together. Why don't you talk for a second while I'm going to shuffle mine?
Awesome. So, yeah, I was bringing up the Ten of Cups earlier, and it's something that I've gotten for multiple readings around this upcoming New Year's Eve event and about people coming together. You know, like the 2010s, all these lessons, all these tests, all these things that we've been thinking and learning. It's like now's the time for action and now's the time to move. And what better way than coming together, literally, and all being here at the same time in the same place, preparing ourselves for the greatest journey we're ever about to take on. Like that's the energy right now of stepping into this path is equally as, you know, exciting as it is scary in some ways. Because even though those fears come up and those things come up that we have to face, the recognition is that it's coming up because we have what it takes to face it. That's the only reason. There's nothing that's coming up that's too intense for us to handle.
Like the saying goes, God will never give you anything that you can't handle, more than you can handle. You know,
Exactly.
And and I think it reminds me of the Tower card, because Saturn and Pluto together and Jupiter, it feels like it's this big Tower card moment, which in many ways it is. But sometimes I think the positive of the Tower card is it's like, especially with South Node, it's more of the internal tower that we build in ourselves that are blocking ourselves, and it's ego based with Chiron square too, that our ego's tower are falling, so we can truly get on our path and not let our beliefs, especially with Jupiter and our own stories that we can create in our head and just like freak out, to not allow us to get off the true trail of our true destiny and who we really are. And Uranus throws the curveball always, right? Like it tests you if you know how to, especially in Taurus, own that value and own that worth and continue to know that value and worth and not go backwards, because that's the hard part. Is the only planet retrograde is Uranus. So the one place that people are going to get tripped up the most through this whole entire thing is around self-worth, Taurus stuff, values, monies, all that kind of stuff. And knowing how to own that and still know the value of things. And that's a hard lesson during these times, because the value is the value of that destiny that you have and whether or not you really believe that you're worthy of it or not.
I agree. Yeah. And it feels like, with the tower, that the thing to remember is, it always seems scary to tear something down that's established. But when you remember that the tower has asbestos, like, it becomes a very necessary thing all of a sudden. And, rebuilding, is what's next.
Asbestos. Well, and that's the other thing, is we are ending the Chinese cycle here, the pig, and January 25th we come into the rat, the metal rat. But this pig energy, we're actually in a month, I think, of the rat finishing off here, and it's a pig year but a month rat, which is very weird because they're the opposites, right? Like the rat is the first one that won the race, and the pig's the last one. So it's a time where we're kind of in between these worlds. And, we have to step forward as a rat month, but in the pig, accept and know the sensitivities we have, but still not be determined to fail. We have to keep pushing forward, and we have to lead in ourselves. This is really about our inner selves. Whenever you're dealing with South Node and you're dealing with Sun and you're dealing with Moon, it's all of the more inner, subconscious, overly comfortable places. You get comfortable with K2. It's where you want to feel safe, like in a weird way. And really what Capricorn is control. And that control is what's holding the asbestos together,
Yep.
So why don't you do the honors, my friend?
Let's get started.
Past life comes up as the first card.
And with a pyramid on it, and you were just using the metaphor that this meteor, would be the size of a pyramid.
That's what they were saying, one of the Giza pyramids, yeah. Or I think they might have said all three or something. I would need to look at the quote, but that's from the articles. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. I definitely feel that. Oh well, and the moon. Well, the sun is in this too. It could even be a solar eclipse, because that's usually what a solar eclipse looks like. So this is dealing with, I think, like letting go of a lot of past life situations, and I think it's just past life fears, right? Like,
yeah,
like there's past life stuff coming up, but I also think it's like this is destiny. This is a course in destiny, and I think that this is a time where not allowing yourself to have that fear, because remember with the South Node and that solar eclipse and that sun, it's that fear or that control. Like, oh, I got to control this, but it's like. Past life stuff is always when you go with the flow and let it happen to recycle out, instead of like, I have control of my past life and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you feel?
Yeah, no, I would say this last week, literally every person I've worked with has had some bizarre past life stuff reemerge in their life, and reemerge in the form of like a metaphor of something in their recent past as well. So to me, it's all about these things reemerging, not so that we can be afraid that we're going back into the old cycle, but that this time is like an opportunity to do it differently. Because that's the thing we always sort of seek subconsciously. We always wish we can go back and do things differently. We can't. But the closest thing to it is when that pattern reemerges, we can finally make a new choice. We can finally build, and it's funny, we got a pyramid right after talking about the tower, because this is a far superior foundation. This is something that was built over time. Yeah,
and even in a mysterious way.
Yeah.
We don't even really know, and the humanity today, we can go build skyscrapers, yet we just can't go build a Giza pyramid. Wow, I got the Five of Swords on top of that reversed.
Yeah.
I feel always with the Five of Swords, there's always a sense of like over control. And then sometimes it can be over domineering, right? Or over doministic energy. But reversed, I think it's kind of funny because it can be extreme that way, or it could be not at all, right? So it could be like falling into past life if I was to look at the past life card, I would think of that as much more of like a kind of maybe 10 of swords is, but something of just repeating patterns that you don't need to repeat anymore.
Yeah. And with like a setting blood red sun.
There is, yeah. So we got 2 suns in there. But I feel that this is a major moment for us to not give up, right? Like, because I think 5 of swords is where, when it's reversed, it's like people give up, right? It's like, I'm going to give up and just fall into my old patterns. Like, I'm just going to not really show up fully. Because even though the 5 of swords is kind of harsh, he does show up, and he does kind of show up to everybody kind of walks away from him. There is something to say when it's reversed that I feel like it's almost like, show up to this. Show up into the work right now. Show up into this beautiful thing. Don't be afraid, you know?
Yeah, and don't be afraid to redefine what victory means to you. You know, with 5 of swords, so much of it's like the concept of, you know, did I win that argument or did I just like totally cut someone down? Like, which one was really the victory? Which one was really the loss? You know, feeling victorious versus actually being victorious. You know, like feeling comfortable as a form of victory might actually not be a victory. When feeling uncomfortable but making real progress would be the real victory. And so this guy has a lot to think about. You know, was this battle necessary or not?
Yeah, and I like how you say that because it's like sometimes people can use, whether it's talking, they can use a million other things in the world to kind of have a victory in their life, something they accomplish or what they feel they had control over. And I think that, you know, part of this is like to be compassionate, right? This card is definitely one that shows like compassion's needed no matter what. And I think that, you know, the compassion about that we all have struggles, that we all have past, you know, life issues in ourselves, but we all have so much sensitivity. But at the same time, it is saying like compassion's needed, but also at the same time, I like how you say, don't cut somebody down, or what that victory is. That victory is by just showing up and knowing the path and not freaking out and not, because he's kind of in a freak out, or they're in a freak out, you know, when they always walk away, right? There's somebody freaking out. Yeah,
no one's happy. You know, no one, like all of them in the card there are regretting something.
Right.
And it's possible that they overwhelmed the opposing force and they didn't need to overwhelm them like that. It means that maybe.
But it's reversed, so it's almost an illusion.
Right. So it's like, could diplomacy have done what these swords did? Or on the other side, you know, should you have done this sooner so that this didn't need to happen?
Interesting. Keep them out. Keep them rolling.
Let's see what we got. Soulmate again.
Yeah, that one I've been pulling up a lot lately. Let's just keep this going like this. Oh, and I got the Emperor. So, wow.
I was just going to say the numerology keeps matching. We have 5, and then this equals 5. Right. And then this one is 4 and equals 4.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, 5, 5 right there. And then 49 is, 13
to
4. And then this is the 4, the Emperor card. So we're at 5 and 4. Okay. But I feel that this Emperor card and this soulmate is, you know, when it comes to relationships right now, it's definitely going to be a big part of this eclipse, it looks like. But it also is, you know, the Emperor, people sometimes associate him the wrong way. He's actually a lot wiser than the kings, and he's a lot more empathetic, and he's a lot more, because he's not by blood, you know, he's like, people actually made him emperor. They like trusted in him, opposed to where like kings can kind of just show up because of the blood.
The sun.
Yeah. And I feel like with the soulmate energy, it's like, you know, this is where you have to take that power, that the wisdom, that understanding, but that extreme courage and self-knowledge and self-worth and comfort in self, and really know the choices you're making with your soulmates and make sure that that's going to empower you in your life, or is it going to take down the kingdom, you know, of yourself? Like, is it, and you have to look, I think, subconsciously, you know, because we can create kind of what we feel is the victory is kind of funky around here, right? So it's like, you know, we can make up a story to keep somebody that's bad and empower that one instead of maybe, you know, empower one that actually is doing good. You have to like, this is where the belief thing and the astrology now on top of this, the South Node and Jupiter with the eclipse is about the perception of it all.
Yeah, and with the Emperor in context to the soulmate, you know, that would be, he has to, in order to be a sustainable emperor, he has to delegate his own safety to himself. Not to everyone else. He has to delegate his own, you know, what makes him happy. He has to delegate all of his responsibilities to himself, because being, you know, blaming other people for the ways in which they let him down with giving him love. That's something that it's just not, you can't rely on other people for that particular thing. You have to give yourself that power and that ownership. And that's why he's the emperor. Because if ever he thought that other people could manage that for him, he'd be lost. And what this does is it opens it up so he can delegate what is someone else's task or someone else's priority. And that's what makes him sustainable. That's what makes it sturdy. That's why he's the 4, the structure.
Yeah, and the soulmate 4, even though it's 49, but it's like having the right energy of a soulmate behind you empowers you completely to the greatness that you are. And I think that you have to look at that. It's who do you choose as your soulmate energy, or who do you think is your soulmate energy? And like, does that energy actually empower you in good ways, or does it empower you in subconscious past? We see that 5 of Swords energy. Oh God.
Yeah, and both of these are full hearts. They're not half and half. This isn't 2 people who are half a person coming together and becoming one full person. These are 2 people fully aligned in themselves coming together.
True that. Well, let's finish it off here. Focus, which is a 6.
Love it.
We're at 5, 4, 6. And I got the Tower reversed.
That's crazy.
I know. I was talking about the Tower earlier too. Ooh.
Focus in the Tower.
Focus in the Tower reversed. I think the focus is on where are you imploding areas of your life by not facing the truth of what actually is the real implosion. It's almost like imploding things to avoid imploding the real thing, right? Because it's like Tower reversed is like, I don't want this to end, right? It's like, I don't want this to go bad. But it's almost like avoiding it and then focusing on other areas to almost create a tower-like effect to avoid the real tower that needs to fall. That emperor and that, there is something to say about if we kind of separate here, past life, soulmate, focus based upon, this emperor sticks out to me the most of this whole deck right here.
Yeah, no, that I think it matches up kind of perfectly. And to top it off, I mean, with focus and the Tower reversed, it's like, what do you really think is the Tower right now? Like, do you think the Tower is that mildly emotionally annoying situation that's happening in the form of a conversation with another person? Or do you think that it's about like all those responsibilities that you've got to take on so you can start changing your life? Or the old paradigm that has now broken down. Like, what's the real important tower here right now? Because if a small sandcastle's falling over and a real tower's falling over, like the real tower, that's the priority.
Yeah, and that's why it's like avoid, like I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
And then putting that focus in the wrong direction could actually later on create a tower in your whole life. You know what I mean? And that past life card, I mean, this is where really I think, and I've said this for all the astrology, it's like who we choose right now in our life is make or break our life.
Yeah. I mean, the arrow has to go through pure hearts in order to reach the past so it can extract the proper lesson. Because if the arrow goes through with an impure heart or with these, like, basically these other concerns that are taking away from the heart space, then it's going to hit that pyramid and it'll just be injuring your past self. You'll be like feeling more guilt and investing in that instead. And then it would be lost. So it's like, now's the time to look back at the past and to do it with love.
Yes. I'm going to pull a card just on top of all this, and we got the Lovers reversed.
So it's time to get naked.
Well, I think, again, it's like, because I'm coming into this as an astrologer, it's like solar eclipse on Jupiter South Node. Like, this whole Lovers reversed is like making sure there's a lot of blurriness here about who is who and who's really the best for each person and yada, yada, yada. And it's about looking at that inner happiness of self first, but that Lovers reverse too could be attached to energies or people or situations that are not good for us at all, and part of actually a massive destruction in our life that will not empower us, or that really are. And this is a perception game here. What do you feel?
It's all about love. Like, it's once again, it comes back to the numbers aligning. We've got 5, 4, 6, and then we have this 7 numerology here. And so it's like, the number one thing for us right now when it comes to our love is, finding this love within ourselves, finding this love within our path. Because like if we feel responsible for the very same path, then it's under a way different intention than actually doing it because you're in love with it. Like you can do the right thing for the way wrong reasons, and the important thing here is doing what you really love. And it's okay to make mistakes, but as long as you're actually doing what it is that's making your heart really beat.
I'm going to get more clarity on this Lovers Reverse. 10 of Cups. Upright.
Yep.
That, there's so much here for everybody, but this is a very, I would say, extremely calculated, strategized, knowing your triggers, knowing where the real towers are falling instead of looking at avoidance. This is where if you avoid, especially because we got the Emperor, right, with the soulmate stuff, it's like you can't avoid it, but if you go deep and you're able to see, you can reach the ultimate happiness and joy of your life. But that only is going to come through the Lovers Reverse. To me, is kind of like a reassessment of all the people that you consider the love in your life, right? Oh, yeah. And that reassessment has to really look at the Tower Reverse. Like, is this building my life to a better place, or is this really constantly ready to fall and I'm just not ready for that? And then this past life stuff is intense. I think we just need one more for the past life thing. And the past life is what past life situations have you been holding on to? We pulled the 10 of Wands upright that are just, it's too heavy now. Like you've been trucking along with this energy or these people or this person for so long that, your life, if you see it, it's just a mess. There's just so much and you're tired and it's like, you can't even handle anything anymore.
Yeah.
Like you can't even take on anything new because of this situation,
Yeah, and that's not the way it's supposed to be, because like when we're genuinely on our path, even the hardest work, like the most work we ever have to put in feels good.
Yeah.
Like even if it's also tiring, it feels good the whole time. And if it just feels like a burden and it just feels like a responsibility, like we were just saying, then it's not the right thing yet, We have to fall in love with this path so we can carry boulders.
And I got the Strength card for the Tower Reverse and Focus, which there is something to say about this. Strength to me card is always a graceful strength. It's classy. It's controlled strength in knowing that it's supported by purity. It's supported by true, true
mastery.
Yeah, true mastery and like true, like that virgin, that true essence of that purity, right? Like the pure love, the pure strength, that it doesn't need to be voracious or rah, like strength.
Yeah.
But it has to have that grace, that power to face what needs to end to get you to focus in the right direction to get where you need to. What is holding you back so much? Because with the 10 of Wands, it's a continual thing. Some people could be like, oh, this situation in my life, it's going to take me down right now. It's like, no, look at all the things you've been holding on to that have created it to where you couldn't take a next step anywhere else because you would have fallen anyway because you were already done. You had too much weight on you.
Yeah. And she finds her strength by taming the lion and befriending the lion instead of needing to kill it. Because, that's far more strength to be able to work alongside something that naturally feels oppositional to you than it does to just be an enemy to it and just, throw down on that.
I like that. Well, thank you, Jax.
Yeah.
It was great to spend Christmas Eve here with you and have you on here, and look forward to seeing what you have to say on New Year's Eve.
Heck yeah, man. See you guys.
All right, everyone. Right before we go into this mix, you never watch the show, I do a quick prayer, and then to set our intention, especially during these times, this is intense times, and then we go straight into the music. And then I'll be in the chat right after. So I'm going to take this music down, and we are going to get this back on the right way so I can set everything up so we can get this thing hot off the press for you when we go live here in 1 sec. All right, here. Oh, hope you all are doing wonderful out there. It's Christmas Eve. This is what I'm doing on Christmas Eve. You know what? I spent one Christmas Eve all by myself at my house in Hollywood in 2013, and I did this show. You can actually find it on YouTube. Type in Christmas Eve, the Leo King. I have done a Christmas Eve by myself. But I'm not by myself tonight, but, literally by myself. And, yeah, it's kind of crazy. All right, so that's going to be the one. All right, here we go. Dear Source, dear God, dear Creator, and I ask for this prayer to be just straight to Source, to God. I ask for you to come into this moment, into everyone's lives, to remind us of the blessing and the life that you have given us, to remind us to be of pure heart, to remind us that there really are no fears, to help us see straight through these times, to help us see through our own issues that are blocking the love that you are giving us, the blessings that you are bestowing us. I have extreme gratefulness for you, Lord, and for the gratefulness of you showing up every moment and every second to breathe the breath in my breath, the heartbeat that you give me every day that I have no control of, that you do, and that you show up for humanity every day into this earth, into this world. And I ask, as we move into this amazing time and this big portal and these major moments, to help us come back to your love always through any fears or any doubts, to have us know that you are here to only align us with things that we can handle, things that move into the positive. And I ask you to help us use this great energy to help us move into the positive, to finally see through the things in our life that have been continually letting us down, and to actually see these gifts that you have been giving to us this year, to see where this has all led to. Because I know deep in within my soul, and I know with the messages that you give and the purity that you give about how this time is so extreme. And I ask for you to help people through this extreme moment, help people to not be afraid, help people to see through all these weird beliefs, all these weird opinions in self that are barraged and entrapping people into these stories that are not about the true connection to you, the true value that you bring us into our life. And for those that connect with your love, that those that are connected to the divine, to remember their power within themselves, and to remember that power, that we are all one, that we are all coming together to do great things, and that we all help each other, and we're all here for each other through this time. And help us connect us with those that see it, with those that are not afraid, with those that are truly there to be of good light, to be of good love. And I thank you so much, Lord, for bringing that every day into my life and to all those out there in the world that are listening, that hear this transmission and this mix that we do. I ask for you to help channel this, to help people remember that, to remember the joy, to remember the love, and to remember the beauty that there is on this planet, that there is in this life, and to have us not bring our past pains, our past fears into these beautiful things that you are bestowing in our life right now. Thank you so much, Lord, for this amazing decade. And I know you have only greater for us in this next. Amen. Well, thank you so much for being a part of it. Make sure that you join us. We'll be live in the chat, of course. If you do not catch this show on YouTube when it's done, you can always go to High Vibe on the apps or highvibe.tv. Thank you so much. We're going to have a blast of a time, and I will see you all live in the mix.
But it still hurts.
Oh, yes, the past can hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it. Ah!
Yes, Philip. The road to true love may be barred by still many more dangers, which you alone will have to face.
Every time you go up in the air, you're unsafe. I don't like you because you're dangerous. That's right.
Get in your head, leaving all your soul.
Now shall you deal with me, O prince, and all the powers of hell!
princess's 16th birthday drew near, the entire kingdom began to rejoice.
The world will note that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, a military base. We won the race of discovery against the Germans. We have used it in order to shorten the agony. In order to shorten the agony. Used it in order to shorten the agony of war. In order to save the lives of. In order to save the lives of thousands and thousands of young Americans. We shall continue until we completely destroy Japan's power to make war.
to true love may be barred by still many more dangers, which you alone will have to face.
$1 million. Walk into
What the fuck? Way down.
I'm better off that way. Girl, can you see? While out of sight, move me to the light.
This is grade A 100% pure Colombian cocaine, ladies and gentlemen, disco. This is grade A 100% pure Colombian cocaine, ladies and gentlemen, disco shit.
Turn it up, drop it low, back it up, touch your toes. Turn it up, drop it low, back it up, touch your toes. Turn it up.
getting the fast soon. Sexy like to think about cutting in the restroom. It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes.
I am getting so hot, I wanna take my clothes off.
Hot and so hot, so hot, yeah. So it's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes.
I am getting so hot, I wanna take my clothes off.
It's getting hot in here, so take off.
I am getting so hot, I wanna take my clothes off.
It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes.
I am getting so hot, I wanna take my clothes off.
It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes.
I am getting so hot, I wanna take my clothes off.
This is a journey into sound. This is a journey into this is a journey. This is a journey into sound.
You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell. You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell. You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell. You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell. You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell. You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell. You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell. You stay on my mind, think about you all the time. Got to get to know you well. If you kiss, then I will tell. Think about you all the time. If you kiss, then I will tell. Think about you all the time. If you kiss, then I will tell.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and 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 believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland. Stay in Wonderland. Stay in Wonderland. In Wonderland. In Wonderland. In Wonderland. In Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
I will tell.
is another man. Jack 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 is another man.
I got something to make you feel. I got something to show you. I got something to show you. I got something to blow your mind.
Hello, sir. I am C3PO. Hello, sir. Hello, sir. I am C3PO. Hello, sir. I am C3PO. I am C3PO. Sir, I am C3PO. Hello, sir. I am C. Hello, sir. I am C3PO. 3PO human cyborg relations.
Let those eyes explore what problems unite us, instead of belaboring those problems which divide us. Let both
All I have to do to come in is just ooh, baby. Anytime my world gets crazy, all I have to do to calm it is just think of you. All I think about is our love. Nothing else seems to matter.
I remember the day the fire started in me, and the way the wind whipped it out. I remember the sky was calling me, but it never. I remember the day the fire started in me. Now I fight just to make it safe. We always held down high. We always dreamed of someday. This is the brand new. This could be brand new. This could be brand new. This could be brand new. We always dreamed of someday. We always dreamed of someday. We always dreamed of someday.
Me, the mistress of all evil.
You'll see. Monday through Sunday, Sunday through Monday, every fucking night.
But it still hurts. Oh, yes, the past can't hurt. But the way I see it, you can either run from it or learn from it.
Give me what I want. Prove me right.
Seems I can't deny. Some days just don't feel right. I think I feel much better at night. Seems I can't deny. Some days just don't feel right.
longer than ever. After hour, work is never over. Working harder, making better, moving faster makes us stronger than ever. Hour after hour, work is never over. Working harder, making better, moving faster makes us stronger than ever. After hour, work is never over. Working harder, making better, moving faster makes us stronger than ever. Work it never over. Working harder, making better, moving faster makes us stronger than ever. Work it never over.
Who think that the best way to escape war is to dwell upon its horrors and to imprint them vividly upon the minds of the younger generation. They flaunt the grisly photographs before their eyes. They fill their ears with tales of carnage. They dilate upon the ineptitude of generals and soldiers. They denounce the crime and insensate folly of humans. Now all this teaching ought to be very useful in preventing us from attacking or invading any other country. Any other country. If anyone outside of madness wished to do so. But how would it help us if we were attacked?
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man, minds that are to our minds as ours are to the beasts in the jungle, regarded this earth with envious eyes, and slowly and surely drew their plans against us. In the 39th year of the 20th century came the Great Disillusionment. Near the end of October, business was better. The war scare was over. More men were back at work. Sales were picking up. On this particular evening, October 30th, across the coast estimated that 32 million people were listening in on radio.
We take you now to the emerging room in the Hotel Park Plaza in downtown New York, where you will be entertained by the music of Raymond Riccello and his orchestra.
Get